It's on.
All right, today we're going to talk about some concepts of addition and subtraction. The first one we're going to talk about is left to right addition. This is basically what it says. We're going to, instead of adding from right to left like we usually do, we're going to start on the left-hand side of the problem and add to the right. So if I have 547 plus 398, I start over here and add. I get 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay. Then I add, 4 plus 9 is 13. I write my 3 here. I carry my 1, which makes this into a 9. Then I add 8 plus 7 is 15. I write the 5 here. I carry my 1, which makes this into a 4. And my answer is 945. That's left to right addition. Starting here and moving in a left to right direction. A similar idea is called partial sums addition. Let's do the same problem with that. We've got 547 plus 398. And this one, we're going to start right to left like we usually do, but we're going to write the answer to each number down on its own. So we're going to add 8 plus 7 makes 15. And I'm going to write it under with the 5 lined up under the numbers I was adding. Then I'm going to 9 plus 4 is 13. I'm going to write it down with the 3 from 13 underneath the column I was adding. Then I'm going to add 5 plus 3 is 8. And then I'm going to add up my columns and get 945. It's called partial sums because you write down the sum of each. Basically, you write the sum of the units, the sum of the tens, and the sum of the hundreds, and then add them up. Okay? Those are two alternative ways to show addition, each equally valid. Some of them will make sense to some children, some will make sense to others. Now we want to talk about some ways to kind of manipulate numbers in our mind to add mentally. And I'm going to actually write down what we're thinking in our mind because it's pretty hard for me to see my thoughts. I haven't figured out how to transmit them up onto the screen yet. So the first one is called compatible numbers. Let's say that I'm going to add 17 minus 12 plus 43. Right? And I wanted to do it in my head, didn't have any paper to write on. Compatible numbers means look for numbers that you can add up that will come out to an even 10. In other words, that the unit numbers will equal 10. So if I look here, I've got 7 and 2 and 3 as my ending numbers. Well, 7 minus 2 will give me a 5. Not too bad, but 7 and 3 will give me 10. So I'm going to think, okay, I can add 17 and 43. Now, when I'm doing this for real, I'm not writing it down. This is to show you what I'm thinking. 17 plus 43. 7 plus 3 is 10, 50 equals 60. And then I can very easily subtract 12, okay, which would be 48. So the goal in compatible numbers is to find two numbers that you can add that will equal a 10. If not, second best, find two numbers that will equal a 5, which both of those are easier to work with than any other combination of numbers. Okay, so compatible numbers means rearrange to make a 10. A 10 meaning not 10, but any number that you can get to counting by 10. Anything 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, etc. All right? A second concept for doing math mentally is called substitution. And this is very similar in that I'm still trying to figure out how to make something into tens, but I'm going to do it in just a slightly different way. If I have 127 plus 38, okay, if I just look at those, I can't, 7 and 8 doesn't make a 10, but I can break the numbers apart and end up making a 10. So 127, I would need 3 more to make a 10. So I'm going to keep my 127, and I'm going to break this one up into 3 plus 35. Then I can add these together, get 130, and then add 35 and get 165. Right? So you're going to break up one of the two numbers in order to make a combination that will equal a tens. So again, we're trying to make tens. That's our end goal anytime we're doing mental math, because then it's easy to work with. This is rearranged to make tens. This is split a number to make a 10. Right? So let's look at this one another way we could do it. It doesn't have to be the second number that splits. Right? How far away is 38 from a 10? Well, it's only 2 away. So I could break the first number up into 125 plus 2 plus 38. Then I can add these together, so I'm going to get 125 plus 40, which is 165. So there's no one right way to do it. The goal is to split it up whatever way makes sense to you in order to get combinations that will make tens. Okay, so there's our second method of doing mental addition for the most part, or addition and subtraction. Right? This third method deals with also, it's going to be, because it's called equal distances, it deals only with subtraction. Okay. And basically what we're saying with the equal distances is, if I have, let's just do a number line with a really small number so we can illustrate it. There's a 5, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. Okay, this is 10. This is 5. We'll do a 15. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is 15. All right. If I do 14 minus 3, okay, I'm going to start with 14. And I'm going to subtract 3, okay? I'm going to end up at 11. Now, if I started instead with 17, but I still wanted to end up with the same answer, I made this 3 bigger, I would have to make this 3 bigger. In other words, I'm going to basically move everything over 3 spaces. They're going to stay equally distant apart. Right? That's what we're talking about. So if one number gets bigger, the other number has to get bigger as well, so that the difference between them, and it's actually equal differences. Distances is also true, but since differences has to do with subtraction, let's use that word instead. But in order for the differences to be the same, the space between them, if one moves this way, the other one has to move 2, so that the distance between them doesn't change. So this would be, if I have 47 minus 18. And again, my goal again is to make tens. So I could do a couple things. It's usually easier to subtract a 10 than to subtract from a 10. So my first choice would be to make this one into a 10. So if I make this into 20, I added 2, which means I have to do the same thing over here. And so 49 minus 20 is the same thing as 47 minus 18. Well, this one we can easily see equals 29. Let's do this one the old-fashioned way, just to prove that it's truly the same answer. I would have to borrow, I would get 9, I would get 2. Okay? So 47 minus 18 is 29. 49 minus 20 is also 29, much easier to do. Okay? Let's do one more of those kind. What if I want to do 53 minus, let's see, 46, I don't know. All right, I'm always gonna, let's make it just a little bit harder. Let's do 16. Okay. Again, I want to try to make this one into a 10 if I can without it being too hard. Well, 16 is not all that far from a 10, so let's make it into a 20. To do it, I had to add 4. So I'm going to have to add 4 over here. I'm going to get 57 minus 20, and my answer is going to be 37. Again, let me just prove it. Make sure you're happy. Okay? So that's a third method. This one would be make the second number a 10. Okay? So we're always, the whole principle of doing mental addition is to get it so you can work with 10s, because those are easy to add and subtract. Okay, the final one is called adding up. And this is actually a lot like we did when we did the missing add end in our problems with base 5 blocks. But we're going to do this one mentally. So what if I have, let's see, 53 minus 17. Okay. Again, I'm looking for 10s. So I'm going to start with 17, and I'm going to get the closest number to, first the closest 10 to it is 20. So I'm going to go to 20. I'm going to kind of count my 17 to 20, that's 3. Okay? Then I can go to 50, that's 30. And then I can go to 53. So I go to the closest 10, then I go to the closest 10 to this one, just below it, and then I go to the answer. So this is 3. So my answer altogether is 36. Let's do, let's see. We'll stick with, no, we'll stick with 50. Let's do 51 minus 24. Okay? All right. I'm going to go to my closest 10. So I'm going to go up to 30, which means I added 6. Then I'm going to go up to 50, which means I added 20. And then I'm going to go to 51, which means I added 1. So my answer is going to be 27. And that you can do in your head, because you can keep those numbers in your mind, and when you're done, it's very easy to add 6 and 20 and 1.